So our car failed emissions. It's a 98 4Runner, 172,000 miles. It just recently got a new catalytic converter, and I'm really proactive on the maintenance, so I'm very surprised. And spark plugs are a year old with low mileage, recent oil change, new air filter, new fuel filter, new catalytic converter, new muffler, new exhaust. So here's the numbers right here. The NOx, nitric oxide, is just a little high. This test was performed when it was 95 degrees out. So we're going to retest at around 8 a.m. where it's about 60 degrees, so a little cooler. The NOx values, at least from my research, indicate high combustion temperatures. They mentioned EGR valve. This vehicle does not have an EGR valve. They mentioned replacing the catalytic converter. The catalytic converter was just recently replaced a few weeks ago. The new exhaust, muffler, pipes, oil change, air filter, all the sensors have been either replaced or very new. So it is extremely disappointing to me. So we're going to try a few tricks and then retest when it's cooler here. Okay, first we're going to take a tour. That battery I just replaced 2 weeks ago. So this is August 24th. That's a July 20th battery. And it's a little grungy because I was doing some washing. So the battery's brand new. So its battery's perfectly fine. As you can see here, the spark plug cables are very new. I recently had last year all the injectors replaced. And then in addition to that, I also had all the coil packs. The coil packs for all the spark plugs replaced with wires. And that was last year. It was almost like $3,500 to have that done. Because as you can see here, it's a real pain in the you-know-what. You have to take all that intake manifold and all that crap off to get to the injectors. And then of course the coil packs coming over here. Here's the coil packs for each of the spark plugs. Obviously you can't see them very well, but they're fairly new, and I hardly drive this car. Very low mileage. We took it on a few little day trips for camping, but it's relatively pretty well taken care of. I'm very aggressive on the oil changes. I change those. I use high synthetic oils. And I really try to baby this because I hate car payments. Car payments suck. So this is what you have to do when you have a 22-year-old car. So we're first going to change the air filter. The air filter's brand new. Here you pull that out. It's practically brand new. But I always change it regardless. When I change the oil filter and the oil and the fuel filter, I always put a new air filter regardless if it needs it. So we're going to change the air filter here. You can watch YouTube videos on this. But I always do that. So we're going to eliminate that now. And so here's the old one. Can't really tell much difference. I mean, it is a little dirty. And a lot of people, change these very later, but I like to do everything at a baseline. So here's, for example, the new versus the old. If I can get the new one out again. So here's the old air filter. It may have maybe 3,000 miles on it. And of course, this is the new air filter, not oil filter. And you obviously can see the difference. This is new. This is old. And it's a little dirty just because, we took it in the mountains. But I always change these. So this is something simple. These are like $25 for this particular model. But but I always change it with every oil change. Oil change, K&N oil filters, Mobile 1 fully advanced synthetic, and this thing gets babied. It's got 172,000 miles on it, but it's belts replaced. The radiator fluid, I just replaced that in July. Power steering fluid, I replaced that, I mean not in July but in December, last December, so about 8 months ago. The radiator coolant, I replaced that in December. So this is a 22-year-old car, 172,000 miles. I take really good care of it. As you can see, it's a little dusty and dirty, but I really try to keep up on the maintenance to make these cars last, because I don't, a brand new one of these is like 50, 60, 70,000 for a 4Runner, which is ridiculous. But I really try to get as many miles out of my cars. So this, and I really try to take care of them. So the NOx levels are high combustion temperatures. So we're going to test this at about 68 degrees at around 8 a.m. So I've literally had to deal with emissions for over 30 flipping years. I get it, I understand it, but this vehicle is pristine for a 22-year-old car. There's 172 miles, 172,000 miles on the clock. I take really good care of it. I hardly drive it. I use premium fuel. I really take care of all the rest, the body, everything else. I really try to wash it and really take care of it. And what really ticks me off is it's just off a little bit. So what I've used in the past is this good old Heet. I've fixed many cars, old cars, and usually you have high HC or usually it's high HC, and that's a new O2 sensor. Oh, this also has brand new O2 sensors. Brand new O2 sensors, and here's, can't really see the new exhaust in this angle. There's an O2 sensor. That's upstream, and then downstream is somewhere right here, I believe. Yeah, right here. I don't know if you can see it. So that's downstream that was replaced a year ago. So it gets connected. And then upstream was replaced, I don't know if you can see that right there. Oh, there's actually a little better view here. That upstream was just replaced about a month ago. And all brand new exhaust. Midas did the work. It was almost $2,000. I was debating how much money to put more into it, but where can I find a car with $2,000 that's as good as condition as this? And it was original catalytic converter at the time. So we got brand new catalytic converter, brand new pipes, brand new exhaust, brand new muffler, brand new O2 sensors. Usually your O2 sensors are your first, your culprit. If you can't pass emissions, like you have high HC or high CO, O2 sensors immediately. So that is the downstream O2 sensor, and that's about a year old, maybe 7,000 miles. Not a lot of miles. And then here, actually there, I'm sorry, there you go, that's a little easier to see. Sorry to walk, okay. So that upstream O2 sensor I just replaced maybe a few hundred miles ago. And the reason why I had Midas do the work, because I stripped out those bolts. It was all original mounting. Because it threw a code on the O2 sensor, so I replaced that mount, the O2 sensors. Well, those bolts were stripped out. So I had put a clamp on there temporarily, and then I had Midas do all this work. So this is over $2,000 of work. I'm not a mechanic. I know a little bit about cars, and I studied it like 30 years ago, but I'm not a mechanic. I don't have a... so what you usually do is you replace your O2 sensors, you replace your catalytic converter. Well, so O2 sensors first. If those are bad, well, O2 sensors, and then I put about 6 bottles of Heet in there. And then make sure oil change, spark plugs, air filter, fuel filter, all the maintenance stuff. If your car's failing, get all that maintenance stuff done first. New air filter, new fuel filter, oil change, spark plugs, wires, blah, all that stuff. And if you test it, it's fine, you're good. But if you have to, then next step is replace your O2 sensors. They're supposed to be replaced every 90,000 miles, 100,000, depends on the manufacturer. They're like 120 bucks a piece. So if your car fails, O2 sensors. If that doesn't work, obviously on my vehicle, I have brand new O2 sensors. I just did all the maintenance. Everything's perfectly fine. I run premium in this thing. This thing gets babied. So we're gonna try good old Heet. This is about $2 a bottle. And I've got a screwdriver to pop the cap. And I've used this stuff for over 30 years. This is like my go-to stuff. Back in the day, it was like 60 cents a bottle. Now it's like $2 a bottle. Who really cares? But we're gonna try 6 bottles with a half-filled tank. And it's just alcohol. It's just antifreeze alcohol. Got the tank. The gas cap's decent. It wasn't throwing any codes for evaporative cooler. So we're gonna try this first. So here's our 6 bottles of Heet. I have a half a tank. And this is my go-to stuff that's helped me in the past. So we're gonna try this, and then we're also gonna try this Guarantee Pass. I've never used this stuff before. It just looks like regular cleaner. Cleans intake valves and such. Also, this vehicle a year ago had all the intake body and everything else cleaned as well when they did the other work. So that's what really ticks me off, is it's just off 0.1. So I've never used this before. I'm gonna shake it before I put it in. You're supposed to run a tank full and then go get your emissions tested. We're gonna try this first, a retest, with the 6 bottles of Heet, and then we're going to try that. Just take it up there when it's a little cooler and see if it helps. There's 1 bottle, and I use a screwdriver to poke the holes, and then I also wear safety glasses because I don't want any of this stuff splashing back at me, my face. So we put in 1 bottle, and I shake the bottles up, and especially this because I don't know how long it's been sitting on the shelf. I turn it upside down a little bit to see whatever, and then I shake it to make sure it gets all mixed. Yeah, this is just alcohol, but and sometimes you do have to squeeze these, so it's going to take a little while. But it's just alcohol. This is my go-to. That's what really ticks me off because it's $2,000, battery, oil change, all that. Well, not oil change wasn't $2,000, but the exhaust system. Because the catalytic converter, it was old, and it was the same age as the car, and the mounting stripped out for the O2 sensor, else I would have left it. Because if it isn't broke, don't fix it. But the O2 sensor, the mounting stripped out, because it's the same age as the car. So might as well replace all that. And then here's bottle 6. And this is just alcohol. You use it primarily in the wintertime if there's water in your line. Also too, if you probably live in a humid state, but this is primarily focused on Denver's climate, and also our winters. So I don't use this in the wintertime very much. This is my go-to for emission stuff. And during the summertime, which is what this is on August 24th, they don't have a lot of this on hand because it's primarily in the wintertime. So depending on when your emissions is, it may be hard to find. You may have to go to a bunch of parts stores. I had to go to 2 to get this. So that's that. So this is guaranteed to pass. It looks like it's just cleaner. It like cleans out all the deposits. and high NOx values mean there's carbon deposits and it's getting too hot. So I've never used this stuff before. It's about 12 to 15 bucks a bottle depending on where you go, but it says you have to prepare. We're going to put it in and then we're going to drive to the emissions place. It's about 70 degrees out, so it's a little cooler than 95 when I had it tested before. So hopefully, combined with all this and this bottle, I usually don't like to put any cleaners in there because I use premium gas, and gas already has detergents in there. It's not like the old days where the carburetors, you had to all kinds of cleaners and clean the carburetors. These modern fuels, they already have detergents in them. So I don't usually like to put a bunch of crap in here. Some people do. I usually don't. So there you go. And then we're off to the emissions place. So we're also going to try Heet with injector cleaner. It's the first time I've used this. It's only because they didn't have my normal Heet at the one store. So they had the red Heet and then those yellow bottles. This is basically just Heet, and so it's a total of 7 bottles of Heet, and this is one injector cleaner, and then that other's guaranteed to pass stuff. Like I said, I usually don't like to put stuff in my tank. I usually like to have it fixed mechanically, the issue. Well, everything's been changed. All the sensors, plugs, everything is all current. All the maintenance is current. So this is like a cheap a little trick to see if this doesn't pass, then we will try maybe fuel pump, go from there. But so we're going to start it, and every morning, or when I started, it always is hard starting. So it started up, but it's always hard starting the first crank in the morning. So that could be fuel pump, maybe not enough pressure, or the check valve. I don't have any history on that, so that could be the next item to replace. We're just going to see if our little trick works, and then go from there. I'm going to record any performance issues I have with using all that stuff that I put in the tank. Like I said, I usually don't like to use a bunch of crap in the tank. Heet is my go-to. 6 bottles of Heet, good. But I usually like to fix the mechanical problem first, and then go from there. So we're driving and it's normal temperature. Usually you bring them hot. I haven't seen any decrease in power or any noticeable change, either performance positive or negative. We've been going about 30 miles an hour and 40 miles an hour. We're actually on Federal and downshifting, but I haven't seen any performance issues. I usually put it in second and let it just do its thing down this mountain, down this little hill, and just hold back. I haven't noticed any issues. So here we are at our fun emissions place. Wait time 40 minutes, so it's 75 degrees out, and today is going to be 97, so it'll be about closer to 80 by the time we get set up there. So it's going to be a fun wait, but we're trying to get this done in the morning so that it's a little cooler, and engine is off. So yeah, it's about 75 degrees, probably be 80 by the time we get down here. It's at least 15 degrees cooler than 95 yesterday. So we were in lane 6 yesterday. I don't know if that's where they have the old clunker cars, or so he's told me to go to lane 7. As you can see on the other side, when we came in, there was like 12 people on these other lanes, and I don't know why they're putting us on lane 6. It is a 22-year-old car, but I don't know why. These must be for the older cars. That looks like a mid-90s F-150 and maybe a mid-90s Ranger. Maybe this is where they put the old clunker cars. So again, 172,000 miles. I'm not running the engine. I'm going to try to bring it in cold. As you can see here, it's actually up to operating temperature, but hopefully those extra 15 degrees, a decrease in 15 degrees helps. Hopefully we get back to lane 6, because that would confirm our test, because we could use the same tester on lane 6. But I'm not running the engine. Usually you bring these in hot, you run the car hot, but because we have high NOx values, this time we want to bring it in cold. Passed. So you can see pass, pass, pass. So the only thing I did was I put 6 bottles of Heet, actually 7 bottles of Heet. There's actually bought some, so these are the extra spares. Actually put 7 bottles of Heet. Let's put 7 bottles, and that included fuel injector cleaner. And it's a half a tank of gas. 7 bottles of Heet. And it was actually the other bottle was the fuel injector cleaner, which is earlier in this video. So we have 7 bottles of Heet. I didn't want to dig in the recycle bin to show you the containers, but you get my point. And then we also used this guaranteed to pass stuff. I've never used it before. Usually Heet is my go-to. And the instructions on this, so it's basically just cleaner. Just really cleans. It's really aggressive cleaner. It doesn't, it just cleans your exhaust system and intake. So the instructions say, if you can read those, but basically it says you have to run a tank of gas through there so it cleans, and then I did not do that. I just put it in, put it with the Heet, and the key is the time. So I did this at 9 a.m., which was about 76 degrees versus 95 degrees. So here's our new readings. So here's hydrocarbons. It's actually a little high, 0.4464. I'm allowed 1.2. So we're good there. We passed there. The carbon monoxide, I'm allowed, I came in at 2.3501. I'm allowed 15, so plenty of room. Actually, a little high on the carbon hydrocarbons from yesterday, but my carbon monoxide values are much lower because yesterday's values were 3. Carbon dioxide was a little high because it's a little cooler, and there was probably a little bit of water condensation. Who really cares? And my NOx values, 2.0092. I'm allowed 2.5. So this passed. It's all freaking finally passed. Finally passed. So this is the past values. So as you can see, so we're going back over to the old values. My old values were 4.22, and I came at 4.66 on the pass, and then 2.3. So it does help your carbon monoxide values and then your NOx values. I did not use the instructions. I just dumped it in. Took it in cold. I took it in cold. Usually for NOx values. Usually you take those in. Usually for emissions, usually you place your O2 sensors and all your maintenance, and then you take it in hot. Well, in this case, because I had high NOx values, let's go back over here. My NOx values, and that says high combustion temperatures. So my failed readings 2.6, 2.5. So this stuff, so now coming back over here, we were about 20 degrees cooler ambient temperature, and then we used all of this stuff. So that's the only thing I did. I did not change from yesterday's value to today's value. The only difference is I went in the morning, and it was about 20 degrees cooler, and then I put all the 7 bottles of Heet, and then I put this stuff in, but I did not, I mean, this stuff works, but I didn't follow the instructions. I just dumped it in. I dumped it in a half a tank, and it passed. So that's my little trick, and this is to, hopefully that helps you, again, for the 98 4Runner, SR5 V6, 172,000 miles. This is the formula that helped me, and this is to help document my progress. So in not next year, but the year after that, when I have to go through this fun games, I know what to do. So hopefully this helps you. But yeah, you can see my 2, and I'm allowed 2.5. So those are a little high, they passed, so who really cares? But next time I'm going to really keep an eye on that. And then I'm going to do my little 7 bottles of Heet, and I didn't notice any performance decrease or any negative value. Actually, if anything, I noticed a slightly increase in performance. Maybe 1 horsepower. And because it's also cooler, it was 75 degrees versus 95 degrees. So if you can, cooler is better because you're going to get more power.